The way you prevent this from happening is you find out who did it, you prosecute them, and you sentence them to death, and by God, you carry out the death sentence. That's how you prevent crimes like this from happening.
Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles. I am Donnie, your host, and with me is my partner in crime, who knew that his childhood was over when he went to sleep on the couch and woke up on the couch. It is Dale.
This is probably more like in the floor, but we'll go with that.
Yeah, well, I was just being nice, dude.
How's it going, man?
Man, I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome. Glad to see you. Good to be back in here.
It's good to have you back in the Crack House, bud.
Damn right.
Yep.
So before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to a buddy of mine, old Bo. I really appreciate it, man. He come and helped me out this week. We were in a bad situation, and I really needed somebody pretty bad. And, man, he showed up and did me a big favor, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it, man. And I'm going to be sending you out a Crack House shirt, and, man, I just thank you very much, and I'm sure you made your dad proud.
It's good to have some buds out there, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you never know when something's going to happen. Or
I was in a fix, too, buddy. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Well,
he saved the day.
That's it. Well, everything's all good now, right?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, good. All right, Dale, we've got a case this week, man. And, you know, we discussed doing a Halloween case, you know, something scary, something spooky. But this case that we're doing this week is scary in itself, man. Things like this, you know, wake people up in the middle of the night thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, you know, where this happened and the sheriff that's involved, you know, him trying to solve this case. We know we're going to tell more about it, but, you know, he even says he wakes him up in the middle of the night, and that's the first thing he thinks about every day is this case.
Well, this is one that, you know, reminds you of people you know, just a elderly couple and in their own house and mind their own business, and then fate comes knocking.
Bam. But anyway, this is the unsolved murder of Russell and Shirley Dermond. And Dale, this is a big mystery in a gated community in Edenton, Georgia. And this is located on Lake Oconee, Georgia.
Which is a huge lake.
Tell us a little bit about Lake Oconee, Dale.
It's a huge lake, boasting it's around 19,000 acres with over 374 miles of shoreline. And it's located between Atlanta and Augusta, Georgia. And Oconee means great waters. So pretty saying it's a pretty large lake. It's the second largest lake in Georgia, running through Greene, Putnam, Morgan, and Hancock counties.
So it encompasses 4 counties.
4 counties.
That's big lake.
Big lake.
Yep, and it is a man-made lake, by the way.
Yes, it is.
And this case takes place in Reynolds Great Water Community. It's a pretty big community. I think we've read where there's about 600 residents in this community alone.
Yeah, just this part of it.
Yeah, just this part, and it's also on a golf course. All right, talking a little bit about Russell and Shirley Dermond. Russell was a World War II veteran, and he also, when he got out of the services, he was a executive, yes, for a clock manufacturer.
Correct.
He had time on his hands, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure he did.
And then bought a chain of Hardee's restaurants.
Yeah, franchise, and eventually owned up to 19 different Hardee's restaurants.
Yeah, 19 Hardee's.
Which his sons helped him manage.
Yep. And then later on, he got on up in his age, and he sold out some of these franchises to his sons.
Yeah, he did.
That they were managing, helping manage.
He was backing out slowly as he was getting a little older. He just didn't want to have nothing to do. He's ready to play golf and chill.
That's it. All right, Dale, we're going to get into the beef of this case. And it starts out on May the 2nd, 2014. And Russell Dermond is seen walking the golf course near his home. And it appears to be the last time he is seen in public.
This is Thursday?
I'm thinking it is on a Thursday,
so.
Yeah. And a few days before, his wife Shirley had played a regular bridge game with, I guess, ladies in there in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they had a bridge club.
Yeah, they were pretty friendly with a lot of other folks in the neighborhood, and they all stayed in contact and, you know, would tell each other when they were going places and different things like that.
Yeah, pretty socially active.
Yeah, close-knit.
Yes.
Now, on May the 3rd, Russell and Judy had accepted an invitation from their neighbors to attend a Kentucky Derby party.
Right. And for those of you who don't know, this is a big horse race.
Yeah, and people get dressed up and different things.
Big hats.
Yeah.
It's all about the big hats.
but Russell and Judy never showed up. The ones holding the party, they didn't think nothing about it. They figured, well, life gets in the way, and they had something else come up and just didn't show up.
Right. It was kind of odd that they didn't call, say they weren't going to come, but really no big deal.
Yeah. After a couple days, the couple who was hosting the party, Dale, were calling the house and got no answer.
Right. They tried to call Sunday, couldn't reach them because thought it was still odd that they hadn't heard anything from them. And then they tried again on Monday to call and still was getting no answer at all. So Tuesday morning, her and her husband, they decided they would go over and check out the house.
Yeah. Their house was a 4-bedroom home. And this was $1 million home, Dale. It was well kept. I mean, Shirley kept an immaculate house.
Yep.
Everything in its place, everything neat and orderly. It was, nothing out of place ever. People said that they went to their home. It was just immaculate.
Yeah, it looked like it was set up by a realtor. It was so perfect.
Yep. All right.
And this home was right on the lake, too. Very nice.
And they got to the house, and they found the back door unlocked. And the husband and wife, they went in calling out to the Dermonds, and they walked into every room into this 4,255 square foot estate. And nothing was out of place. They just they're just not home. But Dale, the garage was a different story. Behind the couple's Lexus SUV and their Lincoln Town Car was Russell's body.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't know it at first. But
No,
they knew it was a body, but they wasn't sure if it was Russell.
Yeah, they went into the garage and didn't see anything. And I think the garage, from everything I've read too, that you had to go down some steps to get into the garage.
3-step drop.
So I think the first time they just opened the door and looked in the garage, didn't see anything.
Right. They went in and checked the house, didn't see anything. The husband went to the garage. He opened the door. He said, well, both cars are here. So they looked through the house again to make sure they didn't miss something. So when he went back to actually check the garage out a little more thorough, he walked down the steps, and that's when he finally seen the body.
Yeah, he saw Russell's body laying there. And what was even more worse, Dale, his head was gone.
Yep, decapitated.
Yeah. And they also noticed, too, that towels had been placed around his body to keep blood from draining under the garage door.
Right. They were trying to keep that body under wraps as long as they could, and nobody would know because they were worried it was going to run out into the driveway and then someone would see it.
So, yeah, this bought them at least 3 days' time after the murder had happened, supposedly. All right. And like I said, this towels around the body also kept blood from going in the garage door and out onto the driveway.
Right.
And they were still looking through the house, but Shirley was nowhere to be found.
Nope. And neither was his head.
Yep.
Both were missing.
It was just Russell's body. All right.
And according to authorities, he was decapitated after he was dead, so it was post-mortem. So don't worry.
Due to the lack of blood or anything like that. They didn't see any blood splatter or anything like that.
Right. No, it wasn't that much blood. The arterial spray was not around.
Yeah. The local sheriff there, Howard Sills, was called out to the site. Also, the FBI were brought in. A reward was offered, and over the following week, Howard Sills brought in cadaver dogs. He had divers drag the lake behind the Dermond's property, but no trace of Shirley was found.
No. It used everything, the most advanced equipment he could get, even robots to go around the bottom so they actually could see on the bottom. And never found nothing. They searched the whole cove. According to him, they searched every inch of that cove behind their house to see if they could find her.
But when they first found Russell's body, and they couldn't find Shirley at all, they actually thought that she could have been behind it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't ruled out, that's for sure.
It was not ruled out. Russell was 88 at the time,
Yeah.
and Shirley was 87.
Yeah.
So
he said he knew that he didn't think that she was the one who would cut his head off, but, you never can rule out everything.
yeah, you have to
know.
You have to look at every possibility. All right. They had 3 kids, 2 boys and a daughter.
Right.
Actually, they had 4 children.
Yeah, one had been killed in a drug-related homicide.
Yeah, but the children were out of town at the time during this, so they weren't suspects, but they had a pretty good solid alibi, but they still took polygraph.
Right, and all their cell phones, so they weren't lying, and they passed the polygraph.
Yeah, so at this point in the game, they're a week in after the murders and nothing. They don't have anything to go on. All they have is Russell's body without his head.
Right.
And they are searching the lake. They're doing everything they can to find out what happened. You know, they're not finding anything in the house that shows any kind of a struggle or anything. It's just Russell's body there in the garage.
Yeah. No, and it wasn't like, and he said they didn't think he was actually killed there. Only he was decapitated in the garage.
So they think that, you know, he was taken somewhere else, killed and brought back.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they didn't find anything outside. They didn't find any blood residue on the docks, in the yard. And they searched everywhere and just didn't find anything. It's just like.
With Mrs. Dermond not being found, you know, they thought that she might have had something to do with this.
It was either that or she was abducted, you know, one of the two.
Yeah. Had she been kidnapped? Had she run off? But get this, Dale, her purse, her cell phone, and her car keys were still in the house.
Right.
So, you know.
So it kind of can rule out anything she had something to do with it, I would think.
And she also done the USA Today crossword puzzle.
Right.
Every day. And it was still on the table, partially finished with the pencil there. So that was just part of her routine.
And that was one that she had gotten on Friday, so they know they were still alive then. So it had to be somewhere either late Friday night or early Saturday. But with it done, the kids said that she always did the crossword puzzle in the morning. So Saturday morning, we're saying they're still alive on Saturday morning at least.
Yeah. All right, Dale. On May the 16th, two men out fishing about 6 miles from the Dermond's home came upon a woman's body floating face down. Her ankles were tied to a 30-pound, actually tethered to two 30-pound cinder blocks.
Right, and this is 10 days after they had found the headless body in the garage.
Yeah, so they found the body, and Sheriff Howard Sills was called out. He arrived by boat and personally pulled the body from the water. It was Shirley Dermond.
Fully clothed.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah, everything they reported, she had not been sexually assaulted.
Nope.
And the only thing they could find that were possible cause of murder were multiple blows to her head with some kind of blunt object.
Yeah, round like a hammer.
Yeah. She was, like I said, Dale said she was fully clothed.
Yep, shoes on, shoes tied, pants, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they did say, before you think about it, she was not drowned. She had been hit in the head with a hammer, so she was not alive when they sunk her in the lake, or when whoever sunk her in the lake.
All right. The sheriff has interviewed hundreds of people. At least, you know, that's what he estimates. And on a single day, coordinating with several law enforcement agencies, 250 people were questioned. The couple's bank records have been scrutinized. The children went to the safe deposit box, and the authorities were there when they opened the box.
Yep, just to make sure.
And there was nothing in there that was suspicious or anything like that. Their wheels were combed thoroughly, nothing suspicious in there. Their phone records.
Yeah, thousands of pages, they said.
Yeah.
Trying to find some link somewhere.
Yeah, nothing, couldn't find anything. The phone records were examined, and even the cell phone towers, you know, showed where they were. And like I said, the three children were separately given polygraph tests, and they all passed.
Right.
And Russell Dermond's head has never been recovered.
Nope.
And Dale, in the home, they found no unusual fingerprints, DNA, or anything.
No, nothing. And they searched everywhere. He said, he made the comment that there's probably been enough fingerprint powder put in that house that you could fill up the back of a pickup truck. That's how thorough they was, and they didn't find anything.
Sheriff Sills even said that this is the most frustrating case he's ever seen. He said he knows that people get tired of hearing me say that he wakes up every morning to think about it, and he has to go to sleep thinking about it, but he does it every day. All right, Dale, let's talk about some of the theories and possibilities on this case. There was a neighbor that spotted a man.
Yep, in the yard. And then I was wondering, I heard an interview, he said that she didn't see him very clearly, but she did see a man. So there's not like they could got a description or do a drawing or anything. It's like, and he said the foliage is pretty thick. Their neighbors weren't very close to the house, so it's kind of like she was looking maybe through some trees or something, and just saw somebody walking and thought maybe it even could be Russell, but he don't think so. He thinks maybe it was part of whoever, or if it was more than one, in which he thinks it is the assailants. He thinks that's who it was. It was definitely that, and that's about the only clue they've got.
Their home is very secluded. It is wooded.
In the very back of a cul-de-sac in the corner.
So anything that's seen, it'd be hard to identify anything like that. And
they only had a neighbor on one side, and they weren't very close.
Yeah. So, all right. Another possible theory is that, it was a case of mistaken identity.
Could be.
That maybe it was a hit for somebody, then it just went wrong. Another theory is that, whoever done this murder was sending a message to somebody else.
Could be. You could do that, the mistaken identity, especially if, because I think they came by boat. I don't think they came in. They had a guard shack at this place, and you had to check in or check out. Of course, they had surveillance at the guard shack, but
get this,
always happens.
Get this, Dale. That day that the murders took place, the cameras weren't working at the guard shack.
It's just always happens.
That always happens on stuff like this. But they questioned everybody coming and going, gardeners and
mailman.
Yeah, and
anybody, handyman, everybody.
And to get into this community, you had to have a code.
Yep.
To get in.
Well, they had a guard at the shack.
Yeah.
You had to stop and actually talk to the guard at the shack. It was manned 24 hours a day.
And anybody that come, to work on anything or maintenance, they had to call.
Yep, they had to call wherever you were going and make sure you were going where you saying you're going.
Yeah, so it was a pretty tight-knit community as far as security goes.
Right. Now, I ain't saying you couldn't slide in there, but it was not simple.
So that's why, I think that whoever did this came by boat.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, or what I was going to say, that could be the mistaken identity, because you ain't looking at the mailbox if you're sliding up, coming in by the boat.
Yeah, their name was prominent on their mailbox.
Yeah, very.
Everything I've read, it was Dermond on the mailbox.
Yep. So, but if you came in from, their house front was actually toward the lake. The back of the house was actually toward the road, so it was kind of built facing the lake. But still, if you didn't know exactly where you're looking for, it could be easy to get the wrong house, especially on that lake as big as it is.
Yeah, and there too that Shirley's body, where it was found, was only accessible by boat.
Yep, in the deepest part of the lake. It was 50 to 60 feet deep, I think.
Yeah, so somebody knew this lake pretty well to do that.
Yeah, I don't think they just rented a boat, which Sheriff Sills checked into all that, all boat rentals, and even checking to see if anybody's boat was stolen or used, and still come up empty there too. So I think it's somebody who knew the lake, and definitely knew where they were going to go when they went there. And he said when they found the body, that they thought it had moved less than 100 yards from where it had been sunken. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Sheriff Sills said, according to the professionals that he had talked to, that the body, with the currents in that lake, the body wouldn't move more than 100 yards from the place where it was sunken to begin with. And it was hung up on some trees that were under the water, because it was a man-made lake, so there's going to be trees and stuff in there. And that's why the guys were fishing there, because of those trees, and the body was actually hung up on one of those trees.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody knew what they were doing. They took her somewhere they thought it'd never be found, but those gases built up in that body and actually bloated her to twice the size that she was when she went down, and pulled her and those blocks up off the ground.
Forced those 2 cinder blocks to the surface.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. And too, they never found Russell's head. I think too that head was put in a bag and thrown in the lake too.
Yeah, and that's very possible. It wouldn't build those gases up like a body would. It'd just still be in a bag.
And us talking about them coming in by boat to do this. The Dermonds didn't own a boat.
No,
they had a dock.
Yeah, they had a boat, but they had sold it, I think, 2 years prior.
Yeah, but they did have a dock down there that to make it come up and park their boat and do what they need to do if that's the case on this.
Definitely.
But they were an elderly couple. I guess they were trying to downsize a little bit. They didn't need a boat. They were at the point in their life. Even Russell had given up golf.
Yeah, just walk.
Yeah, they'd gotten that elderly. And there's another theory too. They did at first think, it's always somebody they know. That's why the children took polygraphs.
Right.
But why would they, murder their parents over something like this? Them being elderly, just wait a few years and get the money.
Right. And really, they didn't have that much money. I mean, they were well off, but they were just really frugal their whole life. So it's not like they had made a ton of money. And there was another little bit of information that they let out later, that they actually found some GSR on the back of Russell's shirt. And I was thinking maybe if they found gun residue, that maybe that's why they took his head.
Could be.
Maybe ballistics reasons, but we don't know that for sure. It's just me speculating.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, because I was just thinking, why would they take his head and then take her and then leave him, especially if they weren't killed there? Why, unless you're sending a message to somebody, but to who?
And that's why I think it could be a case of mistaken identity. Them coming in and them wanting something from them, and them not having them, making them go somewhere to get something.
Right.
And they can't,
because they were saying that there's money and credit cards, cash in the house. They didn't have ATM cards, but they had credit cards, and they were cash in the house, and there were actually 2 Rolex watches and some artwork and stuff, and nothing.
Cell phones.
Nothing was taken.
Cell phones,
Laptop was still on the table, open.
Jewelry.
Yeah, everything. Nothing was taken.
I mean,
except his head.
Yeah, and I mean, if they needed cash for something, that they could took that stuff and pawned it.
Yeah,
got some cash for it. But they took nothing out of the house.
No.
When the kids came in and looked around, you don't know everything your parents have, but they looked around, they didn't see anything that was taken.
It's really crazy. And they said that the head was removed, and not quite surgically, but it really wasn't just hacked off. They kind of knew what they were doing. Like, they kind of used the shirt ring and his collar as a guide to cut it off. But it was pretty clean with a really sharp knife. But I don't know. So you kind of think that maybe it's professional and they knew what they were doing. But I think, personally, if they knew what they were doing, they would have hacked her up a little bit where that gases wouldn't release and she'd still be at the bottom of the lake. But what do I know?
Yeah. And that's why I'm thinking...
It's a pretty gory story, really.
Yeah, it's pretty good for Halloween, that's for sure. But that's why I'm thinking it's just a mistaken identity. That they were targeting someone else, and they could identify these people now, and they just done a job.
Right. So you think they were after money or something, or you think it was a revenge type thing?
I don't know. Even Sheriff Sills, one of the first things he did was he checked with FBI to see if this couple was under the witness protection program.
Yeah.
That they were being targeted.
Because it looked mob-like, because these people were really out of New Jersey. I mean, originally out of New Jersey, so they could have mob ties. And plus with the fast food background, because they said there was a case in New York where a lady was killed and her head taken, and her background was fast food as well, but they got that guy, and he was actually in prison when this happened. So they don't think it's related, but they're saying that really this kind of murder where someone's head's taken percentages are very low. Like, really only 3 in the last couple years, and then actually when the head is actually taken, cut off and then taken away from the scene, is even less than that. So the percentages are really, really low. So it's a really strange crime, and a very rare one at that.
Yeah.
So it kind of looked mobbish, kind of thing, but I just don't know, because they just, unless your theory is right about the wrong house at the wrong time, but these fellas just showed up, it seemed like to me, on Saturday afternoon and rolled in, and I don't know where they killed him at, though, unless they took him away, questioned him, figured out it was wrong. But why would you bring him back?
I don't know. And that's why they locked, they put him in the garage, I guess. And this too, when they found the body 3 days later, the decomposition wasn't that much at all.
No.
Because their house was an upper end house. They had an air conditioned garage.
Yeah.
And they think that's what kept him from decomposing so much.
Oh yeah, Georgia heat would have been rough in that garage.
Oh yeah.
Without that.
Yeah. It would have been rough. So that's why I'm thinking, it was a hit gone wrong. It was a mistaken identity. They took them, and they could identify who it was after that. So they just got rid of them.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking that, I don't know if they investigated everybody in that neighborhood about their background. If maybe somebody else in the neighborhood was under witness protection.
Yeah, possible.
If, somebody else had
I know they checked them all as far as I checked them out as far as being maybe something to do with the murder, but as far as going into that deep, I don't know. That's a good question.
That's what I would want to, if anybody was doing drugs or selling drugs out of that neighborhood. Because this was an upscale neighborhood, and you had to have money to live there.
Yeah, like musicians and just lots of really wealthy people. And a lot of these houses weren't year-round houses; they were just summer houses for some of these super wealthy people.
Yeah, during the winter months, I mean, it was nobody there hardly.
No, it said it like doubled. The population doubled in the summer so it's even though it was outstanding uppity neighborhood, they weren't always there. So people have houses all over the place, I guess.
So this was at the beginning of May. So summer was getting underway. So I guess people were coming in slowly, and maybe that's why I'm thinking they were looking for somebody. They, whoever done this hit were looking for someone else, because everything the police found out about Russell and Shirley, they had nothing in their background.
No.
They were just an elderly retired couple.
World War II veteran who had got out and went to work and built up and bought him some Hardys and sold them off to his kids and was trying to play golf. Other than that, that's about the simple life.
Yeah.
That's all. And she wanted to play bridge and he wanted to play golf. And then when he got hell, he was past that. So he was just walking, and she was getting where she was a little more feeble, so they were probably getting ready to downsize. That's why they had sold their boat to begin with.
And they had been married for 62 years still.
Wow.
And yeah. So this case has really baffled me when I first heard about it a while back.
Yeah, and this is the only case that Sheriff Sills, the only murder case he has never solved in his county.
Yeah, so that's why it eats at him. That's why he's...
And if you ever heard an interview with this guy, he reminds you of you'd think Tommy Lee Jones used his guy as one of the many sheriffs he's played in movies. He's just a cigar smoking, boot wearing country sheriff and gets the job done.
Yeah, he don't seem to mind whose toes he steps on or what he says.
No, he don't.
Yeah,
whatever gets it done.
Yeah, he's pretty hardcore sheriff. All right, Dale. I've weighed in on my theories. What theories do you have on it? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. Whether it could be that, I don't know. I don't think it was robbery. I don't think it definitely wasn't sexual. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was just random. I don't know. Maybe mob hit might fit. It's just weird, but it would have to go back to yours almost, even if it was that. But because why would they kill him unless one of their kids had some kind of secret? They owed somebody a bunch of money, but they checked into all that and couldn't find anything. But if you owed somebody a lot of money, gambling debts or something like that, that's not something to do.
I think the only thing they did find on one of the kids was they had a lien on their house. But.
That really, and it could mean something, and it could not mean something. You can get a lien for not paying your taxes 1 year or something. But.
Yeah, and I don't think that's enough to.
No.
But that's just saying that was all they found.
This guy didn't know Hillary Clinton, did he?
I think this might have been a little bit before the Clinton got involved on things.
But he was a veteran. Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't think it would be something to do with this. Something maybe he knew. I don't know. He was. You'd think if he had secrets, he was going to tell them before he was 88 years old. I don't know. It just seemed like just a simple couple and in the wrong place at the wrong time, even though they're in their own house.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody showed up Saturday afternoon and just, I don't know. It just still blows my mind that they say he wasn't killed in the house. But I guess they didn't rule out that he wasn't killed in the garage. Or if they don't say in the house means in the house. I guess if they shot him in the head, they could have shot him and then took the head right after he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if the bullet remained inside, then it wouldn't make. I guess I don't know. I never shot anybody in the head, but I wouldn't think it would be if it remained inside. It wouldn't make a super big mess. Even though because the body had been moved, at least a foot and a half, or drug according to the blood smear on the floor when they had put the towels all around. Because he was still in his pajamas. He still had on his robe and his slippers was laying there. So he hadn't even got dressed for today, and Shirley had gotten up and got dressed, but she said she always did, and he was kind of, if he didn't really have something to do, he was just going to lounge around a while. So I think these cats just show up out of the blue and catch them by surprise, and it's just a bad day from in on out.
You know, even very too that it could have been a disgruntled employee, but still, you know, I think if you're going to murder somebody, you would take something. You know, because every murder mystery I've ever researched or anything, they always take something. There's always a memento or some kind of something.
He took his head.
Yeah. But, you know, he's not going to put a head up on your mantle, I don't think.
Unless you're Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah. He had a whole different reason, though, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is really a baffling case, and it's sad, pretty gory to just come in and kill somebody. And then
this is probably the most goriest case we've done as far as this type of crime.
Yeah, definitely. This is right on up there.
Yeah. Dale, you got anything to add to this episode?
No, and it's still, to this day, they don't have anything else, do they?
They don't have nothing. But I did read, too, that one of the children, the Dermond kids, said that, you know, Sheriff Sills, is, you know, this is the only one he hadn't solved, but he honestly believes that it will be solved, that Sheriff Sills will find out who committed this murder. Yeah,
I think he believes it was more than one person, and in most cases in his scenarios, there's more than two people. So he's hoping maybe somewhere down the road that it's going to eat at one of them and they're going to flip and make that phone call. But he said other than that, that's all he can really hope for because there's nothing coming out.
Do you think that, you know, them taking Shirley's body out into the lake, that they separated the couple, trying to find out something, trying to get something from them? You know, that
very possible.
Could be a mistaken identity, thinking that he had some kind of information, some kind of something that they needed. Said, hey, we've got your wife out here on the boat.
Yeah, where's this or where's that?
Or we're going to do this to her.
Yeah, or we're going to take her out. And then him being a veteran, he could have fought back. He might, you know, even though he was 88 and frail, he's still a veteran and a fighter at heart. You know,
that's
he fought in World War II, so he wasn't just some kickover. So, you know, that could have, and they just shot him, you know. But they did say he had like another baffling thing to me when I don't know if we said anything about this, but he had some defensive wounds on his hand.
Yes, he did.
And it was one of them was a pretty good cut on his finger, almost to his wrist. But he was dead when they decapitated him, so it wasn't like he was fighting back as they were trying to take his head, and they shot him. So maybe I was wondering, you know, because they had a knife, apparently had a gun and a hammer. So where in this was, so I'm thinking maybe he was fought back and then they shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And when they shot him, maybe the bullet remained inside, so they had to take his head. And that was probably over what they was doing to his wife. So that's why it would take at least three people. You got a guy with a gun, a guy with a knife, and then somebody in the boat with the wife.
True.
Is what I'm thinking. Because I don't think they came through the neighborhood in a car. I think they came up on a boat, slid right up in there, and then come in, and then they're trying to find something, either information or they thought they had something that they did not have. And like I said, they didn't even have ATM cards, so it ain't like he could come and, you know, say, well, take us to the bank and get us some money. If the bank's closed,
mm-hmm.
you ain't getting no money, and even if they have it, you know, it's not accessible because they didn't have ATM cards.
But they had all these valuables there at the house they could have took.
Yeah. That's not as easy to get rid of, you know, or as untraceable as cash, but still, it's something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rolexes ain't cheap.
No, but it's something you could sell on the black market and get money for.
Yeah, definitely. But stuff like that's what bothers me, because, you know, he had those wounds on his hand. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe they were questioning him about something, and then they told him what they were going to do to his wife, and he just flipped and took off after one of them, got the gashes on his hand, and maybe they shot him right there to stop at. And then pretty much from then on there, it's over from there. All they got to do is clean up and get out, because they ain't going to get what they come for, because he can't tell them now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was looking at.
There's more involved with this with just a robbery or a murder. There's something deep seated with this.
And then they didn't want to use the gun on the lake, so they used the hammer.
Yeah.
And then whether they just had that in a boat or brought it with them, who knows. But they hit her in the head a couple of times, and it was said it was pretty serious wounds. I mean, you know it was, but pretty gory. And then lashed her up and threw her in, because she. So I think that was just. I mean, well, hell, I guess he'd have to bring the blocks with. I mean,
they had to have them on the boat.
You just don't happen to have a couple bags of 30-pound cement blocks with you.
Yeah, this was definitely premeditated to do this. This is something you just don't pull them and say, hey, let's just go
Right.
do something. This was planned
They
out.
went there with a plan, and whether they're at the right house to do this plan, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Yeah, it is. It really is sad. But we hope everybody, learns something from this, that weigh in on it, tell us what you think happened. Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah,
We love to hear from our fans out there.
we do. If you want to check it out, the address was 147 Carolyn Drive in Eatonton, Eatonton, in Georgia. If you want to see the house, we will post a couple pictures, some stuff, but that was the address of their house.
Yeah. All right, Dale. Any last words?
Well, I guess that's about it, Donnie. If you guys have a happy Halloween,
Yep.
go out and do something.
Yep. Scare somebody up or something. Stay safe. And talking about Halloween, just something to think about. This is why I don't go to haunted forest or haunted corn maze, because anybody can sneak in there with a real chainsaw, cut up some people, and say that's part of the show.
Yeah,
And
you
just,
never know.
then just
too late.
leave.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. That's why I don't go to them.
So next time you're in there and that chainsaw cranks up, it might not be the guy working there.
It might not be.
Jim Bob might have a real saw.
Yeah. All right, Dale. We're going to get out of here.
All right, buddy.
We want everybody to be safe, be careful, and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is
The
Crack House Chronicles.